Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Is that Mike? Mike, are you here? Looks like we have Mike. What about here? Also Mike? Nope, that's not it. What the? Who did that? Who did that? Who did that? Wait a minute. Huh? 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 Okay, I think it's actually live for like over a minute now. Okay. Let's get on with the music, huh? We have to pick some music. There are 5 things I do every Sunkworks episode, and this one does not count at all. Hold on a minute. I actually made some show notes for today. Let's see, 5 things I do every Sunkworks, and none of these are the things. Here, wait, we have to find a good song. Hopefully one we have not already. We're gonna listen to Rat-a-tat because I can't help myself. It's New Year's Day. Happy New Year. Ringing in 2025 with Sunkworks. Hope you enjoy this episode. Okay, let me figure out what to do with the audio. Let's actually do an audio check before we start this. Okay, here's the song. One thing we always do every Sunkworks. Hold on a minute here. Always get disoriented with regard to what screen are we looking at and which one is on the camera. Always try to get this thing out of the way. Never can keep it off the screen. Welcome to Sunkworks episode 67. We may come back to this song later because it's awesome, and I actually really want to listen to this song, but I also really want to have one more episode of Sunkworks on the books here. Okay, so one other thing we always do at Sunkworks is we always give away the joke if there's a joke. Have to give away the punchline. But this is not a joke. This is serious. All right. So we're going to talk about the structure. So if you've seen Sunkworks, you know rule number 1 is we never follow the prescribed structure. If there is some kind of structure, we're always going to mess it up. Whether it's, well, let's not get too far off track, but we do like to get off track here. So I made this list of 5 things that we love to do at Sunkworks, and actually it turned into 5 lists of 5 things, and not all of them are things that we do every time. Spoiler. So but for the teaser video, it's gonna have to come out something like, hey, 5 things I do every time on Sunkworks. So hopefully everyone will enjoy the format when I do my little thumbnail experiment. I'm going to do some experiments, try to promote the show a little bit more, try to promote some other things as well. So if you are new to Sunkworks, welcome. So there are 5 things at least that I like to do on my channel. I am calling them all under the umbrella of Sunkworks, although some of them have their own separate little umbrella that's not exactly under the some of them are under Sunkworks officially, some of them are unofficial. How we decide is on a case-by-case basis. So so we do a little Arabic language. We've got our Close Master episodes. I think that was the first thing on this channel. We are going to bring back the Arabic language series. We've got Oops. All of my key bindings are wrong today. Hold on a second here. I don't want a new note. Okay, thanks. We get disoriented on our keyboard here on Sunkworks every episode. Alright, so there's BMinder. This is a sort of a subtopic of a topic. That's one of the themes here is we're going to cover topics, but we're going to also cover subtopics. We're going to go in depth about some things. That is the theme of Sunkworks. So one of the things we like to go in depth about is personal behavior. What is there's a whole discipline here. It's not called personal behavior. It's called behavioral science. That's right. So the theme of BMinder here is we want to measure our progress towards goals, and there are some pieces of BMinder you can follow the lore if you want to understand why is BMinder the way it is. I'm not going to go in depth about that, but suffice it to say there is a feature of BMinder that if you look carefully you can see. Let's find a graph that's pretty closely zoomed in here, maybe one of these lone graphs. So there's this little zone in the next 7 days where BMinder, it says Acracia horizon here, BMinder concedes as a part of its philosophy that we have no control over what will happen to us in the next 7 days. So we can schedule things, we can plan so that we have an orderly next 7 days. That's definitely a thing, but it does not always work out the way we expected. And especially when we change our plans within the next 7 days, does it tend to not work out the way we expected. That's sort of what the notion of Acracia is about. So, all right, so let's see here. So we're getting off on tangent already. So we've got a graph here for Arabic. We are going to restart this graph because I don't want it to have too long of a gap. It looks like we might already have a gap here. Current pledge. I'm going to pledge $0 because I'm a wimp. No, because I don't know that I don't have a lot of confidence that I'm actually filling out this form correctly because I'm not paying close attention to what I'm doing. I'm just going to pick the number that's already here. Hopefully it's the same number that I had before. Hopefully the graph looks continuous. I like continuous functions because they're easy to explain. Current value. Starting buffer. Restart this goal with extra safety buffer. So I don't know if I want to choose my own buffer. I think they leave this unchecked for a reason. I kind of do want to have some buffer, and I definitely don't want a max pledge of $270. That's way too much. So every time you fail, your pledge amount goes up. That's non-negotiable. I have a special feature here because I pay BMinder every year that says I do not have to pledge any money, but I'm going to honor the spirit of BMinder. I'm going to leave a max pledge that's higher than $0. So if I do fail, then the next time that I commit, I will be committing some actual money, and then the time after that, I'll be committing a little bit more money in case I fail successively. Right? That's what BMinder is designed to guard against, is successive failures. You can have one failure. It's okay. And we're going to leave safety buffer out because I think it's probably going to come out better that way. Yeah, look, we've got no safety buffer here, so we're going to have to start doing right away. And let's zoom the graph out so we can see how nice BMinder is, because it lets us do all this stuff. Here we want minimum specific date. Let's see, back to last year, January 1st. Okay. There you can see it's pretty continuous. It's not exactly continuous, but it looks mostly continuous. It looks like we are getting a little bit caught up here. We might actually be more continuous now than we were before. So I'm going to have to do something within not 24 hours, within a little bit over 24 hours, in order to prove to BMinder that and it's actually auto collecting data from Closemaster. So there's no cheat here for me. I can't put in my own data and say I definitely did. It's going to look and see if I actually did. So this is a great thing here in BMinder, and we've actually got a separate goal here. I like to have two separate goals because you can use one goal to help you get ahead in the other goal, which is something I have yet to actually figure out how to explain without sounding like Charlie Kelly looking for Pepe Silva. But it is a thing, I think. Anyway, five things we do every episode of Sunkworks. Go off on a tangent every single episode. You betcha. So these are sort of things we might do one per episode. We don't really do all five of these things every episode, but we aim to do this every single episode. Find something broken that needs to be fixed, and then we fix something else that we broke along the way. Probably both of those things happen in every single episode. Sometimes we play Kerbal Space Program. I think we've only played Kerbal Space Program once on stream. Test new cloud native apps. We probably do that every single time. And Kubernetes and GitOps with Cozy Stack. Yeah, lately it's been every single episode. We do this Kubernetes stuff. I'm not sure if we'll keep doing that forever. I don't know how long is the shelf life on Kubernetes. Hopefully it's long. But we've got other options for things we can do. I'm just going to scroll through here so you can see what else I had planned. I'm not going to talk through all this stuff in the script because like I said in every episode of Sunkworks, we never follow the script. But I think that we are going to come, whether on stream or off stream, we're going to come back around to all of these topics again within the next year. I think I can commit to that without going off the rails too far. So what do we do here on Sunkworks? All this fun stuff. What kind of software stacks do we use to do it? I think broadly the consensus is decentralized stacks. The centralized stacks tend to suck, and they just go into worse and worser states of suck the more centralized they get. That is my judgment about all of these places. I think the decentralized ones are probably a more fun place to be. But can you actually keep it? It's like the Republic. If you can keep it, it's really up to you. So I like to focus on some of these things that require a little bit more maintenance, or if not require. I think when I say decentralized, I mean probably software that you at least have the potential to self-host. And I am building up to something here. So what do all these things have in common? They're all social networks. What do some of them have in common? They require or permit some level of ownership of your own data. Owning your own data is very important in the circles that I travel in. And that includes the Bitcoin people and the Urbit people and all the other people. When I say inclusive, I mean it. Anyway, we're not going to talk about Urbit today. We're going to talk about something else. We're not going to talk about Kinode. We're going to talk about Excalidraw. Okay? Now, Excalidraw is something I can very easily demonstrate for you here in a few seconds. If I go to excalidraw.com, now what we're looking at here is a mermaid diagram. And we can zoom in and do all kinds of fun things to the mermaid diagram, but it's important to understand that this mermaid diagram is actually a mermaid diagram, right? It is a sequence diagram. Happens to be a sequence diagram that was written by AI. I don't have the prompt right here, but I did write a prompt. I basically asked Excalidraw AI to explain itself, and I told it everything I knew about the architecture of Excalidraw. So you can see here, it's actually very simple. This is how it works, right? It's great. And I think it's great anyway. A lot of people use Lucidchart, so I also told it, I want you to compare yourself to Lucidchart. And it did, like, superficially make some effort to add something to the diagram that compares itself to Lucidchart. It didn't really invent anything for the comparison, but it did add a line honoring my request. And anyway, these are the components here. And one of them you'll see is Redis. If you've been following, you know we can host Redis. We actually have our main production service on Cozy Stack is 2 Redis instances that we launch before we launch any Kubernetes clusters on our Kubernetes Telos Cozy Stack parent cluster. So what we're going to do today, I think, we're going to try at least, I did all sorts of research to find all right, bottom line, there's one important feature here that Excalidraw offers that all the competitors don't necessarily offer. It's that it's open source. It's actually an open, completely open program here. So what we're looking at, excalidraw.com, this is not a product that's for sale. It's an open source project that is available for download. You can run basically this entire app here. The only thing that I think that they haven't published, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you know more about Excalidraw than I do, the AI parts are theirs. So they don't publish the AI parts. But really, it's not so hard to use AI yourself to generate Mermaid, and the part that takes Mermaid and generates a chart is part of the open source, as far as I can tell. So we'll test that anyway. I hope that that's true. Maybe we'll find out when we get it deployed that feature isn't there. I'm not sure. But what I did do, I did a bunch of research to try to find out. So exactly how open source is it, right? Because we already know some of the features that we see here are probably not available in our private hosted version, if there even is a private hosted version. So I went to this Excalidraw app here. Excalidraw, and I found there's a couple of different repos. There's Excalidraw app, there's Excalidraw room. They roughly correspond to the pieces that we see here, right? So there's a front end app that serves up this web page where we get a drawing interface, and we can immediately start drawing on it. I'm going to draw something just so you see that, right? This is a live app. We can draw all we want. We can make things, we can label them, and we can put other things inside of things, right? And sometimes they overlap, and it's great. Okay, that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Except I also want to be able to share it, right? I want this room to be collaborative. So there's a share button here. All right, so if I click start session, I'm going to get a live collaboration environment. It's called a room on here, right? So there's multiple pieces here. There's the share button we just clicked on. There's something saving my changes locally. So so I just pulled this diagram up by going to excalidraw.com. So there's one central storage, and it's your computer, right? So you get one infinite canvas. I think it's infinite. I can go way over here and make more things as far as I want, like all the way over here. Scroll back to content. Oh, there's a button to help you get back to your content. Bless them. All right, but the real fun part is this room server, because we're going to make diagrams collaboratively, and we want to be able to make, right, this is what people pay for on Lucidchart. We're going to have two people diagram together in the same room, and they're going to be able to work on the same diagram at the same time and see each other's cursor and see each other's changes in real time, so they don't have conflict. So they can create the same diagram together, and collaboratively construct the narrative. And there is a storage backend, right, which is not central to anybody's single computer, because now we're collaborating. So why should it be stored on your computer or my computer? It has to go somewhere else, obviously. It's obvious to me when you build a decentralized app that involves multiple people, then the storage should be somewhere neutral between them, not necessarily a company that hosts the data. Like, there should be some kind of, anyway, in our case it's a company, because someone has to run a Redis server that is the storage for the storage backend, which itself is a stateless server, right? It's a stateless service. It stores its data into Redis. When it launches, it loads the data from Redis, and then it keeps the data in sync with Redis. So in case there were multiple instances of the storage backend, I suppose they could all serve up the same data, and it wouldn't be a problem. I don't know how it works. Don't quote me on that, right? Okay, but there's a shared link here that gets you to the room server, and you'll take my word for it that there's such a thing. And I have actually seen it running locally on my own computer, but I didn't want to run it locally. I wanted to run it not like in a Docker Compose. I wanted to run it on Kubernetes. And I found this tool called Compose. And I thought, it's going to be easy to take that Docker Compose and turn it into Kubernetes manifests. Great, awesome. This is going to be so much fun. And then I found, I did a little bit more research, and I found, well, someone has already done this for me. I don't have to do it, right? I can just clone their repo and deploy it on Kubernetes, and we should be able to see this works. Hopefully. I haven't really read in depth yet. I don't know, but I know, like, the hardest part of what I just described is a Redis service, and we already have a Redis service. Whether we have backups or not is another issue, but understand we've already got this idea in our head. We can build this thing, and the storage is hosted outside of Kubernetes, so we don't have to really worry about that we're creating dead-end data. And also, there's this great feature in Excalidraw that when you decide to export your data to a PNG, and this is really what brought us here in the first place. Someone explained about this feature on Reddit. When you go to export your image, embed scene here. Okay, this is the best feature ever. This says we don't depend on a central storage server at all. That room server storage backend, it's just an ephemeral place, right? We're going to throw away these links. We're not going to keep a database of rooms and use the storage backend as our persistent history forever, right? These things have a life cycle. They have a span of time during which they're active, and then they become inactive at some point, and they either go into a central repository or they are summarily deleted at some point. They have a retention schedule. So however storage backend and Redis is configured, maybe it's configured to store things indefinitely. We know as a matter of organizational policy, we're probably not going to store every document indefinitely. We're probably going to destroy most of the documents that are generated during the course of work, and we're only going to keep the finished products. I think that's usually how you write these policies. I don't know. But you check this little embed scene thing, and when you export your PNG file, it saves right in the metadata all of your scene data. So you can go in here and you can edit. You can still edit the, what do you call them? The entities without having. So this is the best feature, right? This is better than any other, because Photoshop, Lucid, they all have one thing in common, is that that's their moat. They need you to generate your own library of diagrams in their walled garden, so that when your next employee comes along and you want them to do some diagramming, right, you're going to use the tool that you're already paying for. If you're a Lucid Chart customer, your next employee is going to be a Lucidchart customer until something better comes along, hopefully. And that's what I'm hoping here is we'll see. Actually, Excalidraw is better. It may require some process to be invented around the life cycle of the data that it generates. Maybe we have some scraper that will come in and handle room server storage backend. Although, if I understand correctly, the browser actually holds the encryption key, and the room server isn't necessarily able to read the content of the diagram. Only the people who the links are shared with can. So I don't know how that works exactly. I think that sounds like a great feature. I'm sure it's nice. It said here the session is end-to-end encrypted and fully private. Not even our server can see what you draw. I assume that still holds for the open source implementation, but maybe we'll learn how to break. Like, this is Sunkworks, right? Maybe we'll find that that's not exactly true. Yeah. Good. So that's probably enough talk for now. I'm just going to take my fork and clone here. Can I get a fork? And I'm gonna turn my stupid face off here so that we're able to see what I'm doing, even if it's in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. And I'm probably gonna stop talking too. We're just here to see the thing. So let's try and follow the rubber duck. Let's try to install Excalidraw on our Kubernetes cluster. And do a little diagram. If we can build a diagram that shows how Excalidraw is installed in our Kubernetes cluster, then, well, that will really help with the case here for using Excalidraw. There's a couple of things. I'm going to say one more thing before. So Excalidraw, Lucidchart, both have this mermaid feature in it, where you can load mermaid in and get a diagram out, but they have it a little bit different way. From what I can see in Excalidraw, you get entities out that you can select a part of the diagram and just get those entities, where in Lucidchart you get a raster image out, which is not maybe ideal. It might be a little bit better if you could select the individual items and ungroup them and move them around to suit. But I'm really neither here nor there. What I found is there's this architecture diagram type, and it's new. It's in the latest version of Mermaid, and it looks contentious here. It looks like if you subscribe to ChatGPT Pro, or if you use Lucidchart with the Mermaid Pro, you may, I don't know if you get this feature unless you pay extra. I think like to build architecture diagrams, they want to charge you money, but it's actually in the open source Mermaid library. So what I found is here, on the website, you can change these examples, make this a cloud here and do run. Now it's a cloud. Look, this is great. It's awesome. You can do it in a web app, but you can also do it in your terminal. You can do it in your Git repository. You can do it in your CI pipeline using the Mermaid CLI. So I found, for me, the easiest way to make an architecture diagram was actually this, because what I learned when I was asked to make an architecture diagram, I don't really know what makes an architecture diagram an architecture diagram. I've seen lots of architecture diagrams. I'm sure I could go and look at a bunch of them and just divine what do they have in common. But what I found was a lot easier was actually just to see a grammar for architecture diagrams from Mermaid, the official source. In my mind, they're the official source of information about all of the different kinds of diagrams that you can make that have any substance. There's lots of different diagrams that are supported by Mermaid. We use Mermaid in our Flux open source documentation. I've seen in Mermaid, like I said, it's in Lucid, It's in Excalibur. So what I want to see ultimately is because the forks are obviously a little bit behind. If you look at Excalibur upstream and these forks, the forks are not maintained as enterprise products. Let me be clear. If you want to purchase Excalibur, they have a product that's for sale, Excalibur Premium or Excalibur Plus. I'm not sure what it's called, but if you want to support Excalibur, the authors of Excalibur and the company that they've formed, if there's a company, I don't know how that works again, you can pay money to support them, and they'll help you with an instance of Excalibur. You don't have to host it yourself. I think most people probably don't want to host it themselves. I think most companies especially don't want more self-hosted garbage on their network. And I'm not saying that this is garbage, but I'm saying that another thing that you have to maintain is often a losing value proposition. I've been there before in that spot where you say, hey, look, this thing we need to do, it's right here. We can just do it. And the answer is no, actually, that means we have to self-host something. And we're going to pay this SaaS company so we don't have to self-host anything. That's right. I don't know. For me, finding out that this feature was here, it just wasn't in any of the SaaS products that leverage and depend on Mermaid, made me ask another question. I was like, wait, what? Why? Like, why? If their businesses depend on Mermaid, like they've embedded Mermaid in their applications, right? Then why don't they use all of the features of Mermaid? Like, why aren't they on the latest version? Is there some licensing dispute? Did they decide, they only wanted to use Mermaid up to the latest version before? I don't know. I haven't looked into it to try to figure out if there's some reason why they haven't upgraded, or if it's just because it's not their core line of business and nobody really cares. But when someone asked me to make an architecture diagram and I found that there was an open source way to do it, I couldn't resist. So I had to run this code. So I learned how to do it. I can't show you now. I don't have a published version of this. It's a work product, so it has to go into work. But this part is all open source, and I'm pretty sure I can talk about anything that's open source, regardless of any work NDAs. As long as I'm not publishing, the work product is open source. I think that's legit. That's totally legal and totally cool. And this, I certainly didn't publish this. I have a fork of this, right? And I may have already cloned it. Let me see. Let me see off screen first. All right, great. Rubber duck. Okay, all right, now I said I was going to turn the camera off and just do the thing. So we're just going to deploy this rubber duck software. It has Excalibur. Supposedly it works. It's either going to work or we're going to try to set it up and hook it up to our existing Redis instance, and hopefully that works. All right, see you later. Looks like I'm dropping frames too, so definitely see you later. it was at this point it occurred to me that I probably do not have a way to get ingress into this vCluster without making some configuration changes to the vCluster at least. I don't know if I'm prepared for all that today. I think I'm going to give up. This is awfully complicated. If you thought it was going to be easy, then you must not have ever seen Sunkworks before. Anyway, I am running out of steam. I have to go. We're going to have New Year's dinner. We've got reservations. So I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to call it. I'm going to check in the comments here to see if anyone has been watching. I have no doubt there is not anyone watching. Okay. Well, it's been fun. Hopefully you all gained some insight into the things that you might find me doing here on Sunkworks. In the future, I think we will have a excalibra.erminac.com that you can visit. It's not going to be today, but you'll be able to do all of the things that you can do on excalibra.com just on our self-hosted instance. Hopefully, that's my hope. If there is a feature differential, then I'll have a diagram to explain it, and it will go in the Erminac eventually. I'd really like to have more Urbit-centered things in Erminac, but I can't bring myself to just worship Urbit for the sake of Urbit. I like its cool thing and all. I definitely enjoy it. I like it to be the center of more live stream topics, but it's definitely not the center of the universe for me anymore, anyway. So I said I wanted to play that other song. We're going to play that other song before we go, because I really like that song. It might even be my favorite, actually. So, all right, thanks for joining us. Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you tune in for another episode of Sunkworks. See you later. Goodbye.